Bitcoin, right, is one of those assets which is now being monetized, and it is rising through this chaos to be the apex property asset, or the apex monetizing asset. I'm of the opinion that we're going to see a consistent demonetization of other key assets, and one asset that you'll see demonetized, that we're seeing demonetized right now, is bonds. I mean, I guess the big three category, right, or maybe the big four: currency, bonds, real estate, and equity.
Over the years, former MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor has proven to be a genius at orange-pilling all categories of investors. With his endless metaphors and profound knowledge of engineering, architecture, geography, history, and economics, the American businessman aptly explains the need for Bitcoin in such a way that even a child would understand and appreciate. At this point, to say Saylor is a master at what he does might be somewhat of an understatement. In a recent interview with Nick Baccia on the Bitcoin Layer, the MicroStrategy executive chairman combines his experience as a veteran investor and his deep, unending love for Bitcoin to deliver one of the best monologues ever in the space. For this interview, Saylor chooses to play the role of a real estate investor who has identified no less than 18 defects in his property, and by making wishes to a genie, hopes to correct these defects and create the perfect real estate property. Not surprisingly, this quest for perfection brings Saylor directly to Bitcoin, which, unlike a real estate property, is indestructible, unconfiscatable, can be moved anytime, anywhere at the speed of light, and has a capped supply. If you need any new pointers on orange-pilling family members and friends, then you need to watch this Michael Saylor masterpiece. But before we take you to the video, please take a little time to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos. Also, ensure you drop your comments and observations below and share this video with other crypto lovers. Thanks and enjoy the video.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus upon real estate, because I really think the interesting discussion here is how Bitcoin demonetizes real estate. Let's say you had a piece of commercial real estate. Maybe it's a $2 million building called a warehouse, or $2 million. That's 100 Bitcoin, 100 Bitcoin building as of right now. I happen to pull out a genie in a bottle, and the genie comes out and says, well, Michael, I'll give you infinite wishes. And so I start casting magic spells to fix the defects in my warehouse. So what's the first defect? Well, the warehouse has got a finite life. It's only going to last 100 years. And after 100 years, the warehouse is going to fall down or rust. It's got a problem there. It won't last 1,000 years. It won't last 100,000 years. So I say to the genie, why don't you make the building last forever, like literally immortal? Okay, how do you do that? Well, just make it out of something which is literally indestructible. How about pure energy, pure solar energy? Like stars last 1 billion years, so make it out of star stuff. Okay, fine. The building is immortal. Now the second problem is buildings are prone to damage. If there's a hurricane, or if there's an earthquake, or if someone drives a truck into it, or if someone sets a bomb off in it, or if it gets rained on and the water runs into cracks in the buildings, and the water expands and the building facade decays and it crumbles. So I say to the genie, make it indestructible. No problem. When I made it immortal, I also made it indestructible, right? So it doesn't matter how often it gets rained on, and if it gets struck by lightning or rained on or crashed into it or exploded, it's not going anywhere. Now the issue is the building has maintenance fees. There are all sorts of fees normally on an ordinary building, and you're paying insurance. That's a maintenance fee. Well, the insurance goes away if the building is indestructible, right? And then I have to always, if I have a building with steel or something in it, I have to paint it to keep it from rusting. Well, that goes away. No repainting, no changing out the roof. So no caulking, no fixing cracks. So the maintenance fees go away. And if the maintenance cost of the building goes away, then it's worth even more. Oftentimes maintenance fees could be 1%, 2%, 3% of the commercial value of the building. So if you pay 3% of the value of the building for the next 100 years, right, that's 300%. If I took the 300% and I took it to zero, building is worth more. So that's good. So the genie basically makes the maintenance cost, makes it a low maintenance or zero maintenance building. Now, what else drives down the value of the building? Property taxes. The building is sitting in the middle of a city, and there's a city tax. There might be a state property tax. There's some kind of property tax. Those taxes can range from 10, 20 basis points a year to 250 basis points a year. In Florida, the property tax on a building that's held as a residence is 200 basis points a year. 10 million, the $10 million building costs you 200,000 a year to hold it. That's another form of maintenance. So I say to the genie, well, make the property tax go away. Well, how do we do that? Well, we move it out of space. It's not in a city. It's not in a country. It's in cyberspace. So in cyberspace, there's no property tax. If I could move the building, into orbit around Jupiter, there'd be no property tax, right? Move the building. So now I've got an indestructible, immortal, maintenance-free building with no property tax. It's getting a bit more valuable. The building is sitting in California, and nobody wants to rent the building in California, but all the customers are in New York City. So I blink, and the building is teleported to New York City. Great. Well, now they want the building in Tokyo during the Tokyo Olympics. So I blink, and the building is there. So I say to the genie, well, make the building teleportable. If I can instantly teleport the building anywhere, that would be better building. Okay. I've just upgraded the property a bit more. What impairs the value of the building? Well, a limitation on who you can rent it to, right? So when I can teleport the building, then I can move it to any city or any place where there are people, and I can rent it to them. But the other problem is you can only rent a building maybe by the month, maybe by the year, maybe by the decade. Well, what if I've got someone that's willing to pay me $100,000 a day, but they only want to rent it for 3 days during the Monaco Grand Prix? That's an example. During the inauguration in DC, when there's infinite demand and people will pay 10x as much. I need an office space in DC for 3 weeks. Can you teleport the building there? Well, that would be an easier to monetize piece of real estate. So I say to the genie, let me rent it to anyone for any period.
With these wishes, Saylor's imaginary real estate property has gone from a boring stationary warehouse with a useful lifespan of 30 to 50 years to an immortal building that can transcend time and space. But it is still quite far from being as perfect as Bitcoin. Despite the wishes, Saylor's warehouse is still a warehouse and can only be rented by those who need warehouses. So what does he do to get closer to perfection? He makes more wishes.
Someone comes along and looks at my warehouse and they go, yeah, well, this is great. I would pay you quadruple normal rent, but I only want a quarter of it. Okay, I'd like to be able to subdivide it. What if I could subdivide the building into 4 pieces and ship it to 4 different cities and sell it to the highest bidder? Then my issue is, well, it's only a warehouse or it's only a whatever. I want to use it for anything. So if the genie basically cast a spell and allowed me to convert the building into a school or into a sports stadium or into a hotel, right? Or how about this one? Into a container ship. People don't want hotels. They want container ships that carry natural gas right now. Well, it'd be a lot more valuable if my real estate could become a different form of property. So if you can use it for anything, that's a big upgrade. My property would be a lot more valuable if I had the right to develop it. Now, who controls that right? Well, it's your neighborhood, your precinct, your city, your state controls your right. But if I had property in cyberspace, I would have no limitations on my ability to develop it. I'm making some progress in getting rid of the defects in real estate. And I think the next defect is right now, real estate in the physical world is upgraded with tractors and machines and steel and electricity, right? And material. But what if I could upgrade the property using computer chips, right? If I look at the efficiency of a computer chip, they've improved by a factor of 1,000,000 over the past 10 to 20 years. But if I look at the efficiency of construction cranes in New York City, they have not improved by a factor of 1,000,000 in the past 20 years. So clearly moving into the computational domain for development out of the physical domain is a way to upgrade the value of the property. And that's another really nice thing about digital property versus physical property. Now, all of those are upgrades, but then But then the genie says to me, I got an idea for you. I'm going to make your property invisible to those who would do you harm. What is the definition of privacy? One definition of privacy is my property is invisible to those who would do me harm and available to my friends and family. Right? So you think about walking down the street, seeing a wall, and you see the sign private property. It's like, well, it's not private to the family of the owner. It's not private to the friends of the owner. It's private to the criminals with guns outside the fence that might want to jump the fence and do you harm. Okay, the ultimate private property, though, is property that's so private that no one that can do you harm, whether they're a criminal or they're a competitor, right? They could be a competitor, they could be a criminal, they could be a corporation that wants your property, it could be a government or a state actor. When you don't have property, if you did have a 100-story indestructible shining building in the middle of a city, don't you think that people in the city would start staring at the building and resenting the person that owns that? So making it invisible or just making it go away. I don't want to own a perfect piece of property in the middle of a city where there are malefactors that would do me harm. I want the property to be in the middle of the Milky Way nebula somewhere a billion years from now, where no one can see it, no one can get to it, and no one will resent the fact that I have it. That is what privacy is.
Saylor has evidently made some incredible changes to his property with his wishes, but there are still some missing pieces. For example, Saylor's super property is not unique. The genie could grant the same wishes to hundreds of millions or billions of investors around the world, significantly reducing the value of each property. This is exactly why Bitcoin has a capped supply of 21 million. And of course, there is the issue that a real estate property could become desirable to a government and become its property. Here is the rest of Michael Saylor's brilliant analogy.
We haven't gotten rid of all the deficiencies in property. For example, if you want to buy a piece of real estate or sell a piece of real estate, if it's residential, it costs you 6% coming and going. A $2 million residential real estate is $120,000 of fees to buy it, $120,000 of fees to sell it. Heck, you turn it over once and you paid 12% of the value of the thing. With commercial real estate, the fees are a bit lower, but they're still percentage points, 1-2% or something like that. I think I'd ask the genie to allow me to buy and sell the property at no fee or 5 basis points. Make it possible to transfer it at 0. You can transfer Bitcoin on chain or on the Lightning chain at numbers that are either anywhere from 10 basis points to 1 basis point, and on Lightning less than 1 basis point. So that would be nice, right? I mean, no one's got a cartel on fees. Make the genie get rid of the oppressive transaction fees. That takes me to my next point. I want my property not to be private. I want it to be unconfiscatable. Okay, if you own a farm outside of a city and the city wants an airport, they can seize your farm by eminent domain. They can buy it at the rate they want to pay, and if you don't want to sell it for that amount, they can just pass a law taking it, and they can pay you whatever they want. Last ideas? Well, I say to the genie, can I just store an entire billion-dollar building, in the palm of my hand? What if I could store a 10,000 floor building and I could wear it around my finger? And then I think my last twist is I say to the genie, I like the way you fixed my property and made it maintenance free and indestructible and immortal and allow me to program on a computer and move at the speed of light and make it non-confiscatable, etc. But now I'd like you to guarantee me that you don't sell more than 21 million blocks of this, or do this for more than 21 million in the universe forever.
What are your thoughts on Michael Saylor's interview? Please drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Also, ensure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and the channel's growth. Thanks for watching.